Welcome to the second part of our How to Pray mini-series. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Mark Baterson's tips and views on the topic of prayer. He's the lead pastor from the National Community Church in Washington, D.C., as well as New York Times best-selling author of these two books right here. This is The Circle Maker and In a Pit with a Lion on a Snow Day. Fun title, right? So we're actually going to be focusing on this book because this book, he actually specifically talks about prayer, praying about your biggest dreams and your greatest fears. And those are two topics a lot of people are praying about right now. So let's get started. All right, so the very first piece of advice that Batterson gives us is to dream big or to ask big. And the foundation for this is that nothing is too big for God. He said that a faith-filled prayer that asks God to do things that only He can do means that God is going to get the glory and the praise from it at the end. When you ask something so big, it's obvious to everyone else that it's success. There's no way that you could have done that. In those prayers, he says, honor God. But the reason that a lot of people don't pray them is because they lack the mountain-moving faith it takes to actually pray those big prayers. And he kind of gives this overarching idea that he got from his grandma, is that when you give God all of you, and you know that it's not going to be enough to get something done, it's not going to be enough to get something to achieve the goal, then that's when you get to the point where it's, you can't always, sometimes, never tell. No. You can't, why can't I say it? Can't, never, always, sometimes. Hold on. You can't, never, always, sometimes tell. Yeah, there you go. You can't, never, always, sometimes tell. Meaning that when you give all of yourself to God and you let God just go and answer the big prayers, answer the rest of it, then stand back because you never know what's going to happen. The second part of the book is about praying hard or praying over and over. The Bible calls this in other areas a fervent prayer. Now, Batterson compares this to the little widow woman in the Bible who kept going back over and over and over and over to the judge until he granted her justice. And Batterson warns that one of the main reasons that Christians aren't fervent in prayer or aren't steadfast and keep praying over and over is because they run out of things to say. He literally likens it to someone who's in a conversation and they start talking about the weather because they have nothing else of value to say. And the tip that he gives to overcome this is that prayer is a two-way conversation. That, you know, you're praying to God, but you should also be listening, which means prayer without Bible reading or Bible study is going to dry up. He literally will read through a passage and then he'll pray about what he read. So the second part of this section of the book, he actually even gives hints and helps to what it means when God says no. So sometimes you pray and God just says no. And the statement he gives here is that sometimes God gets in the way to show us the way. And the foundation of this is that we as Christians have to trust that God wants what is the absolute best for us, which means saying no now so we can have a better yes later. There's something further down the road that he knows is what's actually best for us. Which brings us to the last major point from the book. Prayer is a long-term investment. We live in an Instapot world, but God's plan does not come with microwave instructions. Batterson gives 10 steps to goal setting and with a Christian mindset of prayer coming first and prayer being the base of everything that we set our eyes on. So let's go over those 10 steps really quick. All right, the first thing he said was to start with prayer. Everything a Christian does should start with prayer. Number 2, check your motives. Make sure that your heart is in the right place and that you're doing things for the right reasons. Think in categories. Don't try to put all of your goals in one area. Break them up into different areas of your life. Be specific. Be very specific about what you're trying to obtain and what you're trying to do. Write it down so it's real, so you see it, go over it, review it. Include others in this decision so they can be praying with you, so they can have ideas they can add to the goal. They can keep you accountable. Celebrate along the way. If it's a big enough goal, then there are going to have to be smaller steps along the way that you can be encouraged when you see the success or fulfillment of them. Dream big. Don't set your goals too small. Think long term. That means this should be something that is big enough that it takes a while to get to. And finally, but not least, pray hard. I love how his list is bookend in prayer. Begins and ends in prayer. That's great. If I was going to sum up Mark Baterson's views in this book, The Circle Maker, I would say that this book is geared towards Christians who are getting ready to attempt something bigger for Christ. They're looking to step out in faith, change their ministry, expand their ministry, just kind of a growing prayer. It's not really geared towards somebody who is praying about maybe a loss in your life, or someone who feels like they're at their end of their rope and they don't know where to go or what to do next. That's not really the focus of this type of prayer. So if you're somebody you're looking at what to do next in ministry, you're wanting to get more involved, you're looking to grow, you need to exercise faith in what God's told you to do in the past, and maybe things are getting challenging now, then we're going to stick a link up at the top corner for this book so you can go deeper with Batterson's views and kind of take more out of it than just our brief summary. And I think the last thing that's important to mention is that the circle maker, this right here, it's an illustration. Which is just a visual cue to help us focus and take hold of God's promises. It was never meant as a model of prayer or a structure of prayer. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you in teaching you a little bit more about prayer, and really just encourage you to check out this resource so that you can do more for Christ and just kind of grow in your spiritual walk with the Lord. As always, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you soon.